Hi, welcome to a new club meeting, guys. Today is gonna be a new club that's gonna be different than book club. It's gonna be cinema club. I'm calling it Yanny Cinema Society. The whole premise shouldn't be that different than book club. It's basically the same thing, except instead of books, we're gonna be talking about like films, like movies and shows and stuff. In today's Cinema Society, we will be talking about the K-drama Queen of Tears. This show was like super popular and it was all the hype in 2024 when it was just released. I never actually had a chance to watch it back then, but I recently just did and I understand the hype now. It is such a good show, so that's why I wanted to talk about it today. I do want to put a little disclaimer. I know the main actor for the show, Kim Soo-hyun, has gotten into a lot of controversy as of late, and I haven't really kept up, but whatever he did, we don't condone it. Each episode for the show is like an hour long, so we're probably not going to talk about the whole entire show. It's going to take way too long to discuss. I will do my best to do like a shortened version of the episodes we are going to be talking about. The show starts with this married couple, Hong Hae-in and Baek Hyun-woo. Hong Hae-in comes from a wealthy background. She is the granddaughter of the Queen's Group CEO and founder, and she is also like the heiress to that entire fortune. I'll try to include a little graphic so you guys can see like the family relations and like who's who. Queen's Group is a very powerful and wealthy family. They basically run like a lot of the retail stores and construction. The whole family lives in the same mansion. It's just like they separated into different parts of the mansion. It's kind of like a condo or townhouse setup, I guess. Hyunwoo comes from more like a humble background. His parents live in like a rural area outside of Seoul, which is like the capital city of Korea, if you guys don't know. They both work at the department store section of the Queen's Group. Hyunwoo is like the lawyer of it, while Hae-in is like the main boss. Like she's the CEO of this part. The two have been married for a while, but their relationship is very rocky. Hae-in is very cold and pragmatic, while Hyunwoo is the complete opposite of Hae-in. It's very strange that they even got married in the first place. At this point, Hyunwoo is complaining about the Queen's Group and how he married into a family where everyone is his boss, and he feels very restricted and has no freedom of like even just trying to go back to his own family to visit. He has to go through these hoops because it's like they're all his bosses. After the introduction, the story starts with Hae-in telling Hyunwoo that they have to go somewhere, but Hyunwoo is still feeling very restricted and everything, so he tries telling her no and he doesn't want to go. And then Hae-in kind of just allows it, so since now he has that free time, he decides to go back to his hometown. In his hometown, he comes to the conclusion that he wants to divorce Hae-in and be free from the Queen Group completely. And he knows that if he does divorce her, it's gonna ruin his life and career because, you know, he works under them and they're a very powerful family, but he doesn't care. He wants that freedom. He tells his family about this decision, and his siblings really hate the idea because obviously like he's married into a powerful family, so therefore they get some power through like that relation. Later that night, Hyunwoo goes back home and Hae-in is home as well. But just as Hyunwoo was about to tell Hae-in that he wants a divorce, Hae-in comes up to Hyunwoo and tells him that she has some news as well. She tells him that she has a terminal illness and only has 3 months to live. In the next episode, we see Hyunwoo pretending to care for Hae-in. He even tells her, "How can I live without you?" And then she responds with, "Well, if you can't live without me, then die with me." Hyunwoo gets scared. That is such like old Egyptian time type beat stuff. He changes the subject because he doesn't want to die. He wants to be free. He thinks this is probably the perfect opportunity. So he asks her to double check if she actually has the illness. He tells him to go to the doctors again and he'll come with this time to double check. The next day, they go to the doctors again, and this is where we find out that Hae-in doesn't really have the best relationship with her family. He asks her if she wants to tell her family about the illness, and she tells him no. She says that if they do tell her family about the illness, instead of caring for her, like actually caring for her, they will care for her only because of the assets that they will gain after she dies. When they get to the hospital, the doctor confirms that Haein has a rare brain tumor that is untreatable. He asks the doctor if there's any chances of a miracle because he doesn't want to have high hopes and then be let down by the miracles. And then the doctor says there is no chances of miracles, but Haein is still in the room. Haein misunderstands this interaction. There's also the scene, I think it's like the same day, it's like later on in the night. Hyunwoo is researching miracles on his own time in his own room. He's trying to see like what are the chances that she'll live because she like I said, he wants her to die. He wants to be free of her. But he falls asleep on his computer researching all this. Haein comes into his room because I don't really remember why she comes into his room. They normally don't really interact, but she goes into his room and then she sees that he fell asleep trying to research miracles for her. And she obviously misunderstands this again, thinking, oh, this guy really cares for her. Hyunwoo meets up with his best friend who he met in law school. He tells him the secret. He tells him that Haein is sick. His best friend congratulates Hyunwoo, gives him an idea to seduce Haein so then he can be part of the will. Haein is trying to partner up with this luxury brand for her department store, but then in order to do that, she has to gain the favor of the brand owner. She finds out that the brand owner is a close associate to her ex-boyfriend Yoon Un-sung, so then she contacts Un-sung and becomes friends with him again. The Hong family has an annual hunt, and the ex-boyfriend Un-sung is invited to it. During the annual hunt, there was an incident where Haein becomes sick. She starts hallucinating and gets lost in the middle of the woods. During this trance, she also meets a boar, and then that boar starts charging at her. Luckily, Hyunwoo appears and shoots the boar just in time to save Haein. He carries her princess style back to the rest areas with the whole family seeing this interaction. It is also revealed that Haein was on the route that was meant for the grandfather, and the reason that the grandfather was not on that route was because his girlfriend warned him to not go on the hunt. She met with a shaman, and then that shaman told her that there will be danger. This makes the grandfather trust his girlfriend's judgment even more. During this annual hunt, we learn a bit more about a lot of the characters. We learn that Un-sung is introduced as an American, but then he is actually from Korea and was adopted to America. But unfortunately, both his adopted parents died before he even graduated college. And then there was also this dog incident where it made Un-sung look very suspicious. He was trying to kill the dog. It was basically him looking evil. And we also learned that Dae, who is Haein's sister-in-law, is not who she portrays herself as. Like, whenever she's in front of like the Hong family, the Queen's Group family, she's always like timid and soft-spoken. Like, when there's no one around, she starts swearing, drinking alcohol. She's just like ruthless and complains about her husband. Because of the whole boar incident, the family checks the security cameras and sees that the boar incident was not actually an accident. It was a plot by someone. They find the suspect, who is a mysterious masked man. So Un-sung tells Haein that he's trying to secure a meeting between her and the business owner. But we also see that there's ulterior motives happening in the background for him. Haein's mom asks Grace, who is the secretary of like the personal lives for the wealthy families, to investigate Un-sung. We also see that Un-sung and Grace are in cahoots, and they might be the ones who are behind the boar incident. The next scene we see is Hyunwoo's sibling deciding that they have to take the divorce into their own hands. They want to stop the divorce between Hyunwoo and Haein, not knowing that the divorce is not happening because Haein is sick. They go to the Queen's department store and think that they can just meet Haein because they're related to her. But when they get there, they get stopped by the security saying they aren't people who are important enough to just be able to walk in like that. Luckily, Haein sees them and lets them into her office. Just as the siblings was about to talk about the divorce, Haein gets news from Unsung that she has a meeting with the business owner, so she has to go immediately. This is where we find out that the siblings decide that they will just leave and send a message to Haein about the divorce. When Hyunwoo finds out, he calls them and lets them know that Haein doesn't even know about the divorce. It jumps back to Haein and it turns out the business owner wasn't there because he had to leave early. She does end up going to dinner with Unsung because he tells her that he can help her do business with him with some tips and tricks. While she is away from the table, Unsung turns off her phone and then distracts her so she doesn't check her phone at all. This means that Haein actually never saw any of the messages that the siblings sent to her. Hyunwoo is calling Haein trying to explain his position, but none of the calls were going through because Unsung turned off her phone. Hyunwoo is waiting outside of their house, hoping that Haein will come back and he can explain the situation. When he sees a car rolling in, it is Unsung with a drunk Haein asleep in the car. Hyunwoo lectures Unsung, yelling at him and telling him that Haein usually never drinks, but when she does, she can handle her liquor very well. He basically yells at him saying, "How much did you feed her? Did you drug her?" Because of the yelling, Haein wakes up and goes home with Hyunwoo without any other trouble. Hyunwoo tries to get Haein's phone before she checks it to delete the messages. When he checks her purse, it wasn't in there. He asks her where her phone is. She says it must be left in the car. So as he's calling the driver for the car to get the phone back, it turns out the phone was actually in Haein's pocket the whole time. And when she tells him that, he panics and runs to her and distracts her by getting really close. Haein talks out loud and asks why she doesn't feel confident, referring to how much he loves her. And Hyunwoo lets go of her hand because it's getting awkward, but Haein grabs it back and kisses him. Next episode starts with Haein walking to her room and Hyunwoo following very closely trying to get her phone. Haein decides to go shower because she's been out the whole day, and this is when we see Hyunwoo trying to log into her phone. He tries a whole bunch of different combinations, like her birthday, his birthday, the day they got married, the day the department store went public, the day she became a billionaire. He gets locked out of the phone for 30 seconds. While waiting for the 30 seconds, he hears the water stop, and thinking that she's done with her shower, he tries to run back really fast, but then he hears the water starts again. So he comes back and tries another few combinations. He thinks real hard about it and then he tries 1031 and it unlocks. He deletes the messages that his siblings sent and then is caught on the way out. This is where it's revealed that the two of them were expecting a baby a long time ago, and then 1031 was actually the expected birthday for that baby. The next morning, Hyunwoo sees Haein in a completely different light. We see that he thinks that she looks extra breathtaking and beautiful, and he's also extremely worried for her, more than usual. There was a whole scene where she's walking up the escalator in a rush and then she trips. He's watching from across the mall and he screams out in public telling her to be careful. He also ends up buying a pair of sneakers for her because she always wears heels and he wants her to wear something more comfortable and less dangerous. She does end up wearing the heels that he bought her, and Hyunwoo notices and smiles. Later on, as he is retelling this story about how he feels a little bit different to his friend suggests that Hyunwoo is actually in love with Haein, and he laughs at the idea, saying there's no way. We see Unsung and Haein is spending a lot of time together because of this business deal, and just as they are about to meet the owner, he tells her a lot of information to blackmail the owner. Haein tells Hyunwoo that she has news, and Hyunwoo assumes it's about the will. When they get home, however, she tells Hyunwoo that she might have found a way to live, and her odds are 51% for survival. This distresses Hyunwoo in a way where he's kind of conflicted. He doesn't want her to live because he wants that freedom, but then he has that worry in him about her. The next morning, Eun-sung comes over to talk about the business deal with Hae-in, but when he does, Hyunwoo is upset over the fact he doesn't want them hanging out together as much. He tries to sneak in, eavesdrop, and monitor them, but he gets shooed out. So he tries to look from the window, and then Eun-sung closes the blind, so he's unable to look in either way. Later on in that same episode, it is revealed that Eun-sung is not the nice guy he shows himself to be. He is actually trying to take over the Queen's Group and has been secretly collecting shares from the directors of the company. In Hyunwoo's hometown, Hyunwoo's dad is running for the village head, which is like the mayor of his city or rural area. But the campaign is not really going well. There are people talking about how the daughter-in-law never visits, so Hyunwoo's sister decides to text Hae-in. When Hae-in hears about this, she goes to the village to visit, and she brings gifts for the entire village and enough food for like a feast. Hyunwoo finds this out and he goes to his hometown as well. Before Hyunwoo gets there, Hae-in goes to Hyunwoo's childhood room and look around. She also meets her nephew, who is Hyunwoo's brother's son. The nephew is fascinated by Hae-in's car, so she tells the driver to drive her nephew around the village a few laps. Hae-in starts having another hallucination the same way she did with the boar, and she gets into this trance and gets lost in the village. When Hyunwoo arrives, he realizes that she is lost and tries looking for her. He's desperately searching everywhere in the village and finally finds her at night. He lectures her about how worried he was, and she confesses that she doesn't even know how she got there, and she was so scared because she is sick and she doesn't know what's going on. He looks at her lovingly and hugs her to comfort her. He even sheds a tear with her. And this is the end of the first quarter of the show. This show was very good. I feel like I did such a bad job in this explanation of a video. I left you guys where it is very obvious that Hyunwoo actually is starting to care for Hae-in in a way where it's more than just for the will. I love the change in both of the characters. We can see Hae-in start to be less cold. She's starting to care more about people. It's just like the two of them are having more character arcs, which is super nice compared to some other K-dramas I watch where it's kind of boring. You guys should watch more of it on Netflix to find out the whole entire show. I did such a bad job at explaining what happens in the show. If you guys want to see the rest of the show, I recommend you guys going on Netflix, like I said. Anyways, that is all I have to say. Thank you for coming to today's Society Club. It is our first meeting, so I hope you enjoyed it. If you watched the entire video, you guys might as well subscribe. Also, check out the 3 witches down below. I'll always link that. If you guys want me to do another Cinema Society for another film, just let me know which one in the comments. I'll do better next time, I swear. That's it. Bye!